Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Wonderlands War from Druid City Games. Wonderlands War is an area control game that takes place across 3 rounds of play. 3 rounds of play in which you're going to be building out your bag full of the best and brightest and goodest chips in all the land, so that ultimately you can go ahead and draw them one at a time from your bag. Not that one. That's a bad one. Don't draw that one. That one's a little better over there. We're going to be drawing chips slowly from our bag for their effects. It's another bad one over there. Until eventually you've moved up the strength track enough to win your battles in this game. That's basically it. It's bag building combined with Blood Rage. That's all it is. Quacks of Quellenberg meets Blood Rage in this game of area control, of bag building, of gathering the right cards and all that kind of thing. In the game, you're going to go through 3 ages, 3 rounds of play. In each round, you're going to have a tea party phase where you gather cards that will help build out your bag. And then from there, you'll move from the tea party phase to the actual area control phase where you'll ultimately be scoring as many points as possible. In the tea party phase, you're going to go ahead and lay out cards depending on the player count. So for example, we can go ahead and lay out these cards over here to the various seats around the table, at which point the players are going to take turns trying to gather various cards from these seats around the table. The players are going to go ahead and move their figure from around the center of the table to any one of these spots trying to gather various sets of goodies on these cards. So for example, over here, we can go ahead and move this character. Let's move Alice over here to the first spot, where Alice is going to take a forge chip added to her bag, as well as leveling up her strength on her marker over there. Then from there, we'll go ahead, and the Queen of Hearts will go next. She's going to go ahead and skip these 2 spots over here. She really wants this spot over here, because she can go ahead and do one of her upgrades on her player board, so she's going to go ahead and do that. Now, along the way, one thing I've neglected to mention is Alice, because of this card over here, Alice is going to grab one person, because of the meeple in the top corner, and choose one of the areas on the board to go ahead and put that person into. So, for example, over here, you can put that person down there. The Queen will go ahead and put 2 people down into an area. Maybe she'll be nice and go ahead and put them down in this area over here. Again, players will go round and around the board trying to pick the card that's right for them. He'll go ahead and grab those 2. Those are very useful chips that will add to their bag. But then unfortunately, he'll have to roll that shard die, grabbing unwanted shards into his section, which is going to potentially cause him to gain extra madness chips. So you're moving around this board, selecting cards, taking upgrades until the players have eventually taken 4 cards. There are some additional rules. It's when you pass the madness track over here, you're going to refill the board, but also roll that madness die and get more shards. But past that, the general idea is you're trying to figure out which combination of chips you are adding to your bag based on which cards you select. There's going to be a bunch of other effects on the cards as well. There's going to be the upgrades you mentioned already. This one over here is you can put another 2 people down, but you have to roll the madness die. This one's going to let you have a quest over here, and that one's going to let you have a Wonderlandian card, which is a selection of cards. You're going to have 3 cards out at any given time. Cards that either give you specific chips that you can go ahead and have access to, or alternatively specific figures and miniatures you can have access to add them to battle. So you can have more chips and more miniatures from these Wonderlandian cards that are all incredibly powerful and fun, and you'll be able to keep hold of those the entire game. You'll also have effects that potentially let you reduce madness chips, which helps you not get extra madness chips at the end of each round. But past that, you're going to go through these 4 rounds. Not 4 rounds, 4 card selections. You move your figure slowly around the board, trying to grab the right card for yourself to build out your bag and your deck in the best way possible. Not really deck, it's just bags over here. But from there, you're going to move on to the battle phase. Once you're all done, let's go ahead and grab some characters. Let's grab a few from the off the side of the board. When you're done with that, you're going to start resolving the battles based on the region that the battle sword is in over here. You're going to start resolving battles in those regions based on a variety, just going clockwise from those regions, trying to resolve a battle in every area. And to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to have all the players involved in the battle set their starting strength on this track over here, and then all of them, one at a time, reaching into their bag in order to grab out chips from the bag. Chips will go onto your track over here where they'll slowly modify your strength. The problem is whenever you draw a madness chip, you'll have to go ahead and remove, well, Alice actually doesn't have anyone here. We should go ahead and put some Alice people here. From there, whenever you draw a madness chip, you'll have to lose one of your people in the battle. These people do not contribute strength. They just contribute to the fact that you won't actually die when you draw madness. We can keep drawing over here as we go. Keep drawing. We got the double madness loss. At this point, Alice has lost 2 people, but because she does not have 2 people to lose, unfortunately, she is out of the battle, and she has busted. The other players will go back and forth drawing chips from the bag until eventually a winner is determined by the greatest strength in the track, at which point after battle resolution can happen, which can have a variety of things, including forging better chips or forging chips onto your chip track in order to upgrade your board. You see, you have this player board over here, and you're going to go ahead and be able to move chips from your bag, from your spent area, onto your forge track to potentially get various bonuses on that board, and also weed your bag from the lesser wanted chips. You'll do that based on having forged chips. If any chips came out that were forged chips, you'll be able to forge for each one. Additionally, ending your strength marker on any of these forge spots will allow you to forge as well. And so you're going through this process of constantly building yourself up. bettering your character. You're going through a tea party phase 3 times in the game where you're going to be adding more cards and more chips to your bag. You're going through the forging process where you're going to go ahead and level up your character, leveling up their strength, gathering more meeples you can add to the board, getting more points and upgrades, as well as removing shard chips and slowly getting your upgrade track that you have on the left side of your board over here, while upgrading your leader strength because your leaders are going to be involved in one region. At the end of the tea party phase, you're going to move your leader to a region, and they're going to contribute their strength to that battle, actual strength on the strength track. You're going to go through that battle resolution 3 times per game, or that full cycle, a tea party, followed by resolving a battle in every single area, and that is basically what's happening in Wonderlands War. Now, a bunch of other things are going to mix up the experience. You're going to have these wager cards, which are basically the opportunity whenever you're not involved in a battle to go ahead and bet on who you think is going to win that battle and get an upgrade as a result if you win, or potentially a shard chip if you are wrong. You're going to have a variety of cards over here. You're going to have different decks of cards. These are just the set A over here, but you can have different sets of cards, all with different abilities for what these chips represent when they are in your bag, and the specific strength they contribute, as well. The strength is always the same, but the ability they contribute is going to be different every single time. You're also going to have a deck full of quests that are going to give you specific feats to go for that'll give you points, end games that'll give you points, as well as if you get both, you get an additional bonus points, giving you potentially 9 points per quest card you achieve, which is absolutely huge when you think with the fact that half the time the players are sitting here vying over 4 points in a region when they can get 9 points for just accomplishing a quest. And that is basically what's going on in Wonderlands War. Build out your bag, go through the process of trying to come up with the best chips, the ones that will work the most for you, figure out the process of pulling everything out, going up on the track, trying to combine different chips that work together in different ways, trying to combine that with your faction and your benefits and how you think you can take advantage of specific abilities, how well they combine with your character, with their default ability that they have for the tea party phase, with the way you're going to upgrade your character on these tracks over here, getting certain abilities that will help you out over there, and try to do so more efficiently than other players by the end of 3 rounds of Wonderlands War. Oh, and then there's the Wonderlandian cards, which, as I mentioned already, are pretty darn cool. Which brings us to the review, starting off with ease of play. Rulebook is fairly easy to actually go through. For the most part, I'd say I had very few questions diving into everything. Potentially, it's a little disorganized in terms of how everything is structured, but all the information is there and it's fairly clear. They have a very not useful player aid. This thing over here, this is as not useful as it gets over here, and they meant well and they did a great job with it, but they have a player aid and a flow chart over here that looks like more work than it's actually worth. Again, it happens to do the job. It is very clear. I just don't find it useful as a player aid. It's too much, a little more than you might need for the game itself. But past that, the game is fairly easy to teach, fairly easy to play. It takes a little longer than I'd like, although that will depend on what player count you're playing at, as well as how experienced those players are. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, first of all, the core mechanism of the bag building is a lot of fun. I generally enjoy bag building. I've enjoyed it, or deck building, bag building, dice building, pool building, any of these games that have this mechanic. I've enjoyed Quacks of Quedlinburg, I've enjoyed Kabitos, I've enjoyed Rolling Heights, I've enjoyed any of these games that have that push your luck aspect of trying to build out a bag, trying to find the right combinations of things that work well for you, and trying to build them out in a way that you have your own competitive advantage, not by anything special other than the fact that you built your bag out a certain way, in a way that works for you. Combining that with battle mechanics makes this a very satisfying experience as you try to figure out which things to work towards achieving the battle results that you want, winning in the regions that you want, combining with your character's abilities in the ways that you want. And speaking of the character's abilities, there's high character variety to this experience as well. There are 5 completely asymmetric factions with very different ways as far as how they're going to handle the actual game, very different strengths and advantages, and very different strategies to lean into and to play into, all of which are very compelling and rewarding in a large way. And that's, of course, the fact that we also have the chip variety. We're going to have 4 different sets of cards over here, possibly more, 4 different sets of cards over here. As far as different ways, you have the A's, the B's, the C's, the D's. You can theoretically mix them up, although I don't necessarily recommend that. But just tons of combinations of abilities at your disposal from the various character sets in order to give you just a vastly different experience using the same exact gameplay mechanics, but a vastly different experience every single time. And then, of course, there's the Wonderlandian cards. Just a giant stack full of cards after cards after cards. You will only see a handful of these in every single game. Generally not more, like you might see 10 to 15 of these per game on the high end, and there's a whole stack of them, meaning you will not see those several plays into this game. And then, of course, there's the Tea Party build-up. Again, more cards. You won't see these every single game as well. And there's a different set of cards for Age 1, Age 2, and Age 3. Each of them giving you different combinations of cards, of abilities, of chips, all the things you can add into your bag to help you try to figure out what optimal strategy combination stuff is going to work in your favor in this game. All of these abilities, all these powers, these abilities, these cards, these upgrades, these chips, they all give you that thing that I love and enjoy, powers and abilities, and a variety within those powers and abilities at the same time. And then there's general production quality of everything. The production quality from the miniatures they have. Now this is, by the way, it's worth noting, this is the deluxe version of the game, but the chips they have, these are premium chips over here, the miniatures, the castles, everything they have from the art, the production, left, right, and center is absolutely beautiful to look at, with one exception we'll get to shortly. Speaking of that exception, let's start off with the things I don't like about the game. I don't love the player boards. The player boards over here, we have these nice little player boards with great art, and these could have really been double-sided player boards. I mean, speaking of which, not double-sided. They actually are double-sided player boards. That part's nice, but they could have definitely been dual-layer player boards. Dual-layer player boards is something this game really could have used with all the production quality they have left, right, and center everywhere else. I wish they had a little bit more production quality on the player boards, because you'll find that things are sliding around those player boards. It's the only nitpick I have across the production quality and art of the entire game. Everything looks beautiful, is amazing, is incredible, just that one complaint. But I mean, I know they're coming back to Kickstarter with another expansion or whatnot. I'll link to the Kickstarter down below when that eventually goes up. But I would love to see dual-layer player boards in that Kickstarter. I think they would actually be a tremendous boon to the production quality of this game that is already off the chart. But past that, as far as other things I don't like, the biggest thing I have is that the game tends to run a little long. Now again, this does depend on any number of different factors. First of all, what games you're comparing it against. I would say that, for me, when I say it runs a little long, I mean that for the experience I get out of it, it feels like it runs half an hour longer than it should, maybe even a little longer than that, depending on the player count and group and all that stuff. This is not a good game for AP-prone players. This is a game that can drag, but it can move quickly. It depends on who you're playing it with, as well as what player count. And speaking of player count, because of that, I find this is a game I'll only really play at 4. 5 drags it down unnecessarily, and 3 doesn't have the level of interaction that 4 does. So I like 4 for the level of interaction between the players. 5 adds more interaction, but not necessary, and just adds more downtime. And that means this is a game that I'm primarily, almost exclusively going to play it at 4 players, and even then with the right 4 players. With people who move quickly, ideally who know the game, so that we can actually have this game done, because this game is a great game. It's an excellent game. We'll come more with that in final thoughts. It's an absolutely excellent game, but it's an excellent 90 minutes to 2 hour long game, and when it runs longer than 2 hours, even at 2 hours is pushing it, when it runs longer than 2 hours, I just feel it drags longer than the experience that it is designed to be. And then lastly is 3 rounds means that some upgrades you just don't feel the full advantage of. At the end of the day, gathering some extra chips or a Wonderlandian card that you get to see through 3 rounds of play, you'll use it a lot of times. There are multiple battles going on. You'll have the ability to dive into your bag. You'll feel the full use of that chip or whatever. But when you hit to enter the 3rd round of play, it's not as bad for the regular chips you have on the side over here, because you already have these in your bag. But for that unique specific Wonderlandian card or the player board upgrade that you just unlocked, having it for a single round of battle feels a bit anticlimactic and just makes it, I mean, it's still useful. It'll still help. It's still important. But it does make it feel a little less helpful in that final round of battle. As far as I can see others not liking, first of all, by the very nature of what this game is, this is a high luck game. Yes, you are bag building. Yes, the bag building is up to you. Yes, the way you combine your powers and abilities and gather the cards, all that stuff has plenty of agency. But when push comes to shove, and you are trying to pull out a chip from the bag, whether it's that 3 that's going to help you, or that 6 that's going to double your strength, or alternatively that double madness chip that is the only chip you could not afford to draw, that absolutely is going to be present. This is a bag building game with all the luck associated with it. And secondly, is almost worse perhaps, this is a game where the rich get richer. This is a game where generally the player who's doing well in round 1, in round 2, in round whatever, they're going to be winning the game. If you see someone with a clear lead, there's a decent chance that that player is winning the game. This is a game which has no obvious catch-up mechanics, and mostly comes down to the people who win. They're going to go ahead and get their castle on the board, which contributes further to their strength, which means they're going to get more points, more strength, more chance of winning the next time. This is a game that the rich are already getting richer, and there's no catch-up mechanic in play or strong ability for others to mitigate around taking down a leader, and so generally someone with an early lead early on is going to be the person who's winning the game. As far as final thoughts on Wonderlands War, I really like Wonderlands War. Like, I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. Not without critiques, to be sure, but it's a lot of fun. The biggest aspect of the day is this is the quirky whimsicalness of a bag building game like Quacks of Quedlinburg, combined with the heavy strategy in your face area control of a game like Blood Rage, and that does result in both an incredibly fun experience, but one where I feel less control over than when I'm playing a game like Blood Rage. And for me, this one falls into this interesting category of, I find Wonderlands War to be a ton of fun, but limited a bit by the strategic depth and drifting a bit more towards the fun. I don't mind fun, though. Fun is a good thing. And then with that potential downside caveat that it kind of has to be running very quickly for me to thoroughly enjoy this game, and when it drifts to the 2 hour mark or later, it just starts to run a little longer, and I find myself wanting the game to end at that point. Wonderlands War falls into an interesting category for me where I really enjoy it with small little critiques. Overall, this is a 4 out of 5 for me. Although it's a 4 out of 5 for me, with the caveat that as I play this more with players who know the game, as I dive into this more with people who are good at the game, who know the experience, and who can deliver this in a 90-minute playtime, if I can get this down to a consistent 90-minute playtime, I can see that rating even going up. I'm just not there yet, and I'm not prepared to bump that rating yet. But I will say that I really, really like this game. I really do. If I can get it down to 90 minutes, it would be absolutely amazing. As it is, where it is a solid game that I thoroughly enjoy, with a few caveats as far as whether you are or are not the target audience. This ultimately is area control meets bag building in a way that delivers a lot of fun, a lot of variability, a lot of different options for how you're going to combine your character, your powers and abilities, your Wonderlandian cards, the cards that show up at the table. Every single thing here is just giving you variance to the way you're going to engage with the experience, while all delivering you fun opportunities to go ahead and enter battle and see where you can prove your mark, prove your mettle, show your mark, make your mark, and prove your mettle. That's the ones I'm looking for. Overall game I thoroughly enjoy and highly recommend. As far as other game recommendations, I'll go with what I've been saying this entire time. If you like bag building and you want more of that in a different experience, Quacks of Quedlinburg. Great game, highly recommend it. Lots of fun, lots of variability, just not any of the area control. And if area control is more your thing, and you're kind of like, can I have more of that without the randomness of this over here, then Blood Rage. Blood Rage is an excellent game that will also take place over 3 ages. Will also have that problem that the 3rd age you kind of don't get the full benefit of what you get your hands on. But past that, it gives you all the vicious area control that Wonderlands War is doing so, but with a whole healthy dose of other factors thrown in, including one of my favorite mechanics ever, which is drafting. In any case, and until next time, I hope you found this video helpful. As always, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.